Today I want to discuss with you called Mrityunjaya mantra. It is a part of the 11th chapter of Rudram. This is the book of Rudram here. So it is called 11th Anuvak. In Sanskrit they call it Anuvak. Let's sing it together and then we'll go one by word. Om Tyambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiya Mamrutat. First I'll do a simple, easy translation and then go in the deeper words. Tyambakam, one who has three eyes. Yajamahe, we praise and we salute. Sugandhim, one who has fragrance, one who is fragrant. Pushtivardhanam, the one who nourishes health. Urvarukam, bandhanat, evam mrityoho mam mukshiya. When you heard me sing and lead you, I said Brahmanan. Now I'm saying Brahmanat. The reason for that is when, according to law of Sanskrit, the words like ma come are followed by the word ta. Ta becomes the antyavarda in that particular piti. Ta becomes na. So that's why when he's singing, it becomes Brahmanat. At the same time, the correct word is Bandhanat. Release me like the oval-shaped large melon that gets released from the creeper when perfectly ripened. And for me as a human being, release me when I regain knowledge of my true identity. Ma mukshiya ma amrutata. Ma mukshiya amrutata. Ma amrutata is ma mukshiya amrutata. Do not take away from me the pursuit of immortality, amrutata. Instead of my present pursuit from death to the unending cycles of birth, growth, decay, disease, and death. That means pursuit of becoming something different than I am. That's what we all struggle in the life, thinking just because I'm not good enough, I want to be something else. That's what our life struggles are. So, putting all these words together, one paragraph or one sentence I could say, is that we worship the three-eyed Lord, the fragrant one who nourishes our health. Just like the melon that gets released from the creeper when fully ripened, release me from death, but not from immortality, by inspiring and helping me to regain my knowledge of my true nature. Now, just like Gayatri Mantra that we discussed a couple of years back, and in the line of mantras, it will come to Gayatri Mantra during the course of the year, is a popular like Gayatri Mantra and appears in Rudram at the very end of the 11th Anuvak, and Rudra Prashna has been completely answered. What is Rudram? The first Anuvak of Rudram is a prayer to Lord Rudra, asking him to be kind to all of us and also be giving whatever our needs are at that time. Through 2nd and 9th Anuvaks, the Lord is saluted as Sarvatma. Sarvatma means all kinds of Namarupa, all forms and all names. This constitutes this world of objects. And also as Sarva Antaryami, the inner order sustaining everything. And in addition, he is also respected and revered and admired as Sarveshwara, the Lord of everything, Devata for the family, Devata for township, all kinds of Devatas we can call, remember. Or if you want to use, called Kula Devat, Grama Devata, At the same time, what is important to remember, as our Guru always taught us, we always have to put our pitaras, forefathers, foreparents, people whose existence allowed us to be born in this prarabdha, through our prarabdha. So we have to respect them at the same level of respect that we respect all the devatas. Now we finish 2nd through 9th. In the 10th, again consist prayers of Lord Rudra. And the 11th, the Lord is prayed to in the form of many devatas sustaining different spheres of experience on Prithvi, on earth, Antariksha, space, and Divi, in the heaven. So is recognized as devatas in 3 different levels, on the earth, in the space, and also in the heavens. Ultimately, he is surrendered in this anuvak to overcome all the powerful weapons thrown at us. Because, this is a prayer, I'll tell you why we sing it and when we sing it. Because at that time, many challenges have been thrown at you, at us. Now, perfect example that Swami Dayananda gave Kumud was that of a Mahabharata war, where Ashwatthama had a unique gift called Narayan Astra. Narayan Astra is ultimately Lord, and when hurled at the other party, because you use it only when it is absolutely essential, because you only have one, it annihilates everyone in front of you. He was the only one on that battlefield had been gifted with that put in Narayana-astra. And when Narayana-astra was thrown at the Pandavas' army, Shri Krishna, who says, Shastradhari Kari, Goshti Sangena Yukticha Chara, I'll not hold any weapon, but I'll tell you what the tricks should be used during the course of battle. He said, what you do now at this stage is completely surrender. Once we surrender in front of Narayana, Narayana doesn't do any harm. So he is a perfect individual. Once you surrender in totality, he doesn't hurt you at all. So that is exactly what is done in the 11th Anuvaka as a part of it. This mantra, I discussed it in the Rudram, also appears in several other Shrutis, such as Shukla Yajurveda. When I send you the notes, every exact verse will be quoted number-wise. Rigveda, Atharva Veda. And what is unique is all the mantras which we will be discussing and have discussed so far typically are not used for any homa. One of the few rare exceptions is this mantra, which can be used for Mrityunjaya Homa. So it holds a even greater importance. So as I mentioned to you during the early part, it is used for the protection from death or death-like experience or illness. Where there is an impending death or death-like situation, but with possibility of further longevity prarabdha, then by self-effort and through performance of such a homa, Mrityunjaya Homa, the full course of life can be achieved. I'll give an example when it was used most effectively, as we tell you the origin of those mantras. The real strength of this mantra is that, in addition to that protection, is critical in being liberated and attaining moksha in this very life, and then being able to pursue the rest of one's life through unselfish service to others till this human body, which has come to us because of prarabdha from previous activities in the previous birth, has been totally discharged. Ramakrishna, even when he was suffering from cancer of the larynx, one was requested to ask Kali to bless him and make him healthy. He said, no, I have to just finish my prarabdha. I've got to go through that. My life's work is complete. You don't ask for any favors that way. This mantra is also known as Trambaka mantra, Mrityu Sanjivani mantra, As long as you understand what that mantra is and the meaning is and how you apply it in your day-to-day life, the job for this morning is done. Now, where did the mantra come from? As I mentioned to you, as usually there are several explanations where the mantra originated. But to me the most plausible seems to be is Markandeya. Markandeya, at the age of 16, a devout devotee of Lord Shiva, as if you remember, he was born to the parents as a special gift with all the possible qualities that parents can wish and hope for their child, but with one single caveat. His lifespan will be only 16 years. But the thing is, when you've been gifted with so many wonderful things by God Almighty, and if you apply them intelligently and smartly, you're able to bring out the solution for the challenges in the world. When we talk about rainforests on this earth, there's so many poisons and so many different dangerous insects and reptiles in there, which certainly can cause death. But that rainforest also consists of several vegetations which has the answer for those poisons. So when God gives us the challenges, He also gives us the opportunities to use your intellect to find the solutions to overcome them. So he, all through his life, continued to pray Lord Shiva, who bestowed on him the Mrityunjaya mantra. And so when 16th year birthday came, mine is tomorrow, at that time, when the army of Yama came to him, the time is up, this one was singing the mantra and holding on to the Shiva Lingam. And when they tried to touch him, Lord Shiva got angry. Don't you dare touch him. He is mine. There's no way you're going to take him away. And he lived very full life for many years afterwards and continued to teach various bright disciples throughout his life. So that is where his origin from this mantra comes from. There's also another explanation that has been given in the literature. According to literature, some people consider that Lord Shiva gave it to Shukracharya, who passed on during the stage of deep meditation to sage Kahol. That's how he received it. And Shukracharya taught this mantra to sage Dadichi. That's why his bones became powerful. Even the gods had to find the strength of those bones to defeat the bad people. There's so many stories I could tell. And then he passed on to the king Shua, and that's how the story goes. So, mantra one origin comes from the cosmic consciousness by whatever name you want to call it, but it is passed on by the enlightened people to people who are really interested in learning and using. It is worthwhile to learn at this time also the story or remember the story of Sati. Sati was youngest daughter of Lord King Daksha and Mother Prasuti, and she was born as a special blessing from goddess Adi Parashakti. I mean, I'll give the family tree somewhere down the road, but time would not allow me to permit where Daksha came from. At the same time, the only thing I can tell you is his brother was sage Narada, Daksha's. And as this little Sati was growing up in the palace, where do you learn from? The father is a king, he's too busy. There's always some teachers who are willing to teach you. So Narada would be telling him her stories. So she was so enamored by the stories that Narada had told that she decided to give up the luxuries for the father's palace and devoted exclusively to the austerities and worship on Lord Shiva. So vigorous were her penances that one time she cut down her daily diet to half a leaf, and later on even gave that one up. And that's where the name Aparna comes from. Even not the leaf you would not take. So Ardhapatra and Ardhaparna and Aparna. Her finally prayers bore the fruit when, after tasting her resolve, Shiva, the ascetic, finally acceded to her wishes and consented to make her his bride. When King Daksha arranged for her Swayamvar, of course kings always give away their daughters by Swayamvar, so interested young folks or people interested in getting married show up for that Swayamvar, and the bride decides to choose. It's not a choice of a bride's groom future, but basically choice of the bride. And of course, to nobody's surprise, and with the anger of her father, she selected Lord Shiva in the Swayamvar. And then she moved to Kailash. Daksha did not like him because he had nothing in the bank account. He would travel all over the world, including weird places like Smashan, because for him, there was no difference. Everything was the same. And as it happens from time to time, the kings and noble people arranged for yajnas, and he invited all the big shots around the universe, but categorically made certain that Shiva was not invited. And Sati heard about this yajna, and being bonded to her parents, wanted to attend that yajna in father's and mother's house. She said, let's go, doesn't matter, he has not invited. Shiva said, no, I won't stop you from going. You are their daughter. I respect your love for them. So you can go. I would not go without proper invitation. But what I'll do instead is, I'll send you all my army with you to protect you, but you can go. So with his blessings and his army, she appears at the palace. And as soon as she arrives there, Daksha started yelling at her and told her loudly and clearly in front of all the devatas around and noblemen around that she was not welcome. When he did not stop yelling, after she had taken that abuse for quite some time, Sati took the form of goddess Parashakti, from whose blessing she was born, and introduced herself as the eternal flower, and cursed Daksha that her father be killed by Shiva and other gods who had assembled there. And requested Mother Parashakti to allow her to be immolated, her mortal body, through the invocation of her yogic powers and creating a scorching flames. So she burned herself down with her powers. Obviously, Shiva was a married person at this particular time. He was grief-stricken. At that time, he got so angry, and if you heard the story about his dance called Tandav Nritya, which get fiercely angry, he dances. As a matter of fact, all the murtis that you see are the Tandav Nritya. That's another description of that one. I think we wrote about it a few years back when we have Shiva celebration here in the temple. And when he got angry, he took out a couple of hair from his big hair thing on the top and banged it down on the ground, and out came two powerful entities. One is called Veerabhadra, 8-armed, destructive incarnation of Shiva, and Bhadrakali, the supreme goddess's violent, intense incarnation. She had 18 hands, unlike his 8 hands, and contained several kinds of weapons, and it's kind of interesting to read the original Sanskrit text talking about various weapons to keep it interesting for you. Discus, dagger, trident, spear, mace, scimitar, sword, vajra, conch shell, demon head, drinking vessel, gourd, water pot, cleaver, shield, bow and arrow. So these 18 different hands of different entities, basically talking about the immense destructive power. And then goddess, and also in addition of her army and her assistants, consisted of 8 other goddesses called Kali, Katyayani, Chamunda, Ishani, Mundamardini, Bhadra, Vaishnavi, and Tvarita. Virabhadra decapitated Daksha and restored all those who were there totally lifeless. But then Shiva, after stopping his Tandava Nritya, all kind and care, forgiving he is, he brought everybody to life, and even did a plastic surgery on Daksha and replaced his head by a goat's head. That's what the story goes. But he was so grief-stricken at that time after forgiving everybody. His wife had no longer alive, was burning. So she carried her burning body in his arm and running around the world in all different locations. And in order to protect Shiva, out came behind Vishnu, who with the help of his Sudarshan Chakra cut off the remaining portions of Sati's body, which fell down to earth at 52 different places. You can both remember when we were 2 years ago in the Himalayas, we visited 2-3 different places where those called Shakti Pitas are called. And because of her wishes, as she burned herself down, she was reincarnated as Parvati, Uma Hemavati, daughter of Himalaya, Himwan, king of mountains, and the mother was Menavati. And father-in-law adored his son-in-law, Lord Shiva, and Shiva and Parvati once again made Kailash as their home. At that time, the destructive power of Shiva got converted into creative power and resulted in the birth of Kartikeya and Ganesha. So that's what the story goes. Kind of interesting to study the history of the mantra at the same time, learn the story of Sati in this context. Let's go in deep into this mantra again. Triambakam. 3, Ambakam. 3 means 3. Ambaka is eye. Triambakam is one who has got 3 eyes. It's also called Ambaka because it's always glistening. That's the meaning. Ambaka is glistening. Lord is also looked at as having 3 eyes in the form of sun, moon, and fire. Vedas talk about Surya, Chandra, and Agni, because of which you are able to see. As a matter of fact, the 3rd eye for us is right here, basically our cognitive power. That's why when you start the puja, you put once again a central red mark here to wake up your cognitive eye. Also because of that, these 3 eyes, you are able to see past, present, and future simultaneously. For those people who are interested deep in drama, there's another meaning of Ambaka. It's called copper, which does not apply in today's discussion. So basically, Triambaka or Triambakam, who is the father of all the 3 creative powers, that means creative, preservative, and destructive, or preparing the conditions for recycling and preparing for creation. Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh, in this case word uses Rudra. This mantra specifically refers to the destructive aspect of these three powers called samhar. But to me it is destruction or recycling and creating conditions conducive to recreation. I never look at it in a negative way. Again, the Sanskrit is so fascinating. Yes, according to very old rules of Sanskrit, Amba can become Amba. And Trambaka, then you can call it three Ambas, three divine energies. And men in the audience, I want to remind you over and over again, the creative energy in this world is always feminine. Okay? So that those ladies who are in the audience should remember that don't let the men fool you around. So you have the power. So what are the three powers? Mahalakshmi, one who gives fulfillment to life. People get confused when we talk about fulfillment of life. They're only thinking about material possessions and that fulfillment. To me, the fulfillment is both material and spiritual. So that's important to remember. Second is Mahakali, one who protects us from calamities. But remember, Mahakali is good, but you have to remember only 2% of the time she takes the form of Mahakali. Otherwise, she is Durga, is protecting us. Only when she gets angry because of the situation, then she takes the form of Mahakali. And the third creative power, three powerful energy, is Mahasaraswati, who inspires us to learn and gain all forms of knowledge and also achieve proficiency in all types of arts, including dance and music. My greatest weaknesses. Dance and music, I don't know much. Then the next word is, you just finished Triambaka at the present time. Next one is Yajamahe. It comes from a Sanskrit root called Yaja, that means we praise or we salute. So we do that. Sugandhim. It's a Bahuvri Samas. That means Yasmin Sarvada Sugandaha Iti Sugandhim. That means one who has always the fragrance. Within him is always the fragrance. So he is no longer an average mortal. How do you differ, Arun, between mortal and immortal? We sweat, man. So sometimes you know what our wives tell us. So you better remember, you sweat. Whereas this Shiva, Rudra, Shankara is immortal. He does not have. He's always Sugandhim. So Sugandhim. Next one, of course, remember, even though he does everything, the thing to remember that he is both Nishkarma and Nirvikara. Nirvikara, that means does not change. Unchanging, and that means he is not doing anything. That's the amazing part of it. We discussed partly when we discussed Purnavadam last session. And of course that discussion will come over and over again. All the Upanishads we'll discuss. Pushtivardhanam, that means one who nourishes health, but nourishment of not just health of one individual, entire creation. And this sustainer is not only sustaining or nourishing our body, but also our mana buddhi, mind and intellect also. So nourishment consists of all the three different levels. So God provides us unique situation that allows in addition to be emotionally nourished as well. And hence, we praise and salute this word with all forms of praise and gestures and prayers. So that's how it is. Now this important part comes now. Urvarukam bandhanat iva mrityoho mam mukshiya. Okay. Uru means big. Aruka, that means becoming. So it's an accusative term, tense in Sanskrit. So one is Uru, Aruka, that means one who becomes big. Eva, becoming. Eva means as if. So release me like an oval-shaped melon. It continues to get bigger. Now why is mantra included melon? What's the big deal? I like melon, but that's different. Why melon? That's something very important to learn. Typically, the melons, some people describe it cantaloupe, honeydew, watermelon, doesn't matter. But all of them come from the same family. When they're growing up, the flower comes and then the fruit comes, they lay down on the ground. You don't take them out from the vine. The same thing happens with pumpkins. When the fruits are ripe, they automatically release themselves from the vine. That's the beauty of these kind of fruits. So when the translation comes about pear and different fruits from the tree, that's not a correct translation. These are basically melons which are growing, lying down on the ground and separate themselves when they're completely mature. How does that differ? It is unlike fruits which are on the tree, like a coconut, for example. Coconut might come down, not necessarily when it's ripened. It may be a wind, somebody shaking, somebody cut, whatever it is. But then what happens? When that happens, that leads to propagation. That means they continue to replicate. So there's a difference between completely mature and separating on its own, as against falling down and continuing the cycles of birth, growth, decay, disease, and death. So that's how it's described in a very poetical way. So basically, Urvadakamivam I described to you in the form of a poetic way, but what really he is talking about is release me only when I'm too mature, I'm ripened. But what is being ripened as a human being? You see, Manushyatvam, Mumukshatvam, Mahapurusha. Three most difficult things to get. Deva Anugraha Adukam. That means only comes with the grace of God. Being born as a human being, with cognitive faculties of making decision to do or not to do, is a special gift for the human beings. We don't act purely reactively, instinctively. But we react, make a decision to do or not to do, it's up to us. Mumukshatvam means we do so many wonderful things in the world and earn a lot of money and we feel very, quote, happy at that time, but I'll explain to you what that happiness really means. But then it comes to your thinking, is that all there is to the life? Then becomes an intense desire in you. You say, this is something, I need something more than just getting the material things, because that's not giving me a long-lasting satisfaction. If I eat sugar, it's fine, sweet at that time, but when it runs out, again, no longer sugar is there. So what is this something that I will get which will last with me forever? When I asked my guru several times, how do you find a good guru? His answer was, go back to the verse we were talking about. Deva Anugraham. You don't find the guru. Dev will find you as a disciple. When you are ready, he'll appear in front of you, she'll appear in front of you. You'll be ready for it. The thing is like this. If you look at it from the practical sense point of view, the natural positive tendencies are happening all along. But only the people who are ready and welcoming and willing are able to save it. For example, when it rains, some people let it go down the drain pipe. Some people collect that water and make sure it is used at the time when you really need it the most. So using those naturally given divine resources is up to an enlightened human being's hands. So that, talking about Deva Anugraha, that means at that time you'll find out the right person is automatically, you recognize who that person would be, and that person will be able to take you to the next step. So that's what is important. So only when that enlightened person is able to discuss with you what your true nature is, then you're truly ripened. Otherwise, you'll have to come back. But good thing about what Gita mentions, 643, is that wherever you leave off, you don't have to worry about it. You can pick up where you left it. So your hard work in this life doesn't get fully wasted. Because regardless how changed your attitude has been, the things which have been set in motion because of your part of the past activities, that you cannot prevent. You may not be able to complete your homework completely, that's fine. But that is not a wasted effort. Arjuna asked several times, what if I don't complete it? He said, no, don't worry about it. Is that if you didn't complete it, at this stage you'll come back and start exactly where you are. So which is kind of a very positive way of learning, so that's something to remember. Only when I'm completely educated, understand who I am, at that time we release it. That's exactly what this particular mantra talks about. But at the same time, when you understand what I said so far, then you understand the last three words. Ma mukshiya amrutata. That means, O Lord, don't take me away from my pursuit of immortality. Because that's the important part about it. So you want to get rid of never-ending life of wants, which leads to repeated births and deaths. But then pursuit of amruta, that means immortality. That means amruta is something that much more than simple sugar. It stays with you all the time. There's nothing there you need. Once you have tasted it, experienced it, there's nothing more. And again, when you talk about death, Shri Krishna mentioned in 227 clearly, Jatasya dhruvo mrityur, dhruvam janma mrutasya. There is certainly a death for the one who is born, and for the dead, don't you guys, there's certainly a birth. But remember, when you're talking about death, it's only from the standpoint of jiva, these five elements that make my body. Not for the jivatma, atma, which is aja and amara. Is not born, never dies. That always remembers. I think when we discuss somewhere down the road about death and reincarnation, at that time we'll discuss that topic in greater detail. But then you have to understand by self-experience that you indeed nothing but Brahman, and where you are able to see idam atma brahma, and then of course at the same time brahmasmi. You have to go through all different Upanishads and you'll understand how the things are. So thus, to summarize, we should sing this mantra every day, but certainly at the time of major challenges to our life, in the health particularly, even impending death. This is beneficial not only for the individual who's under tremendous pressures and physical challenges, but also for those people around, because they are learning it, understanding it, even before that need comes up. So that's why it is important that you learn it right now. So let's sing one more time and then open up for questions and comments. Trambakam yajamahe Sugandhim pushtivardhanam Urvarako vibandhanand Mrityor mukshiya mamrutat. There's one word which I did not discuss in this. If you remember, when we sang in the beginning, I said Om. Because Om itself is a session to discuss. So if you are interested and the time permits, I'll give you a quick overview of that word in about 10 minutes. But again, I want to make sure that we talk about this mantra first and go from there. Any questions or comments? Yes?
You had mentioned that we'll pick up where we left off. So say I die tomorrow and then I'm reborn. Do I pick up right away where I left off, or I guess if you could expand on that.
If I hear you clearly, what you're asking is, when you mention that you pick up in your next birth where you left off, is it picked up right off the bat, or it takes time? Right? Is that the question? Is?
Yep.
Well, you have to remember, when you get up in the morning, you're really not awake for quite some time. Some people take some time or long time, couple of cups of coffees before you wake up, go to Starbucks, whatever. I'm not saying I'm go there, but I'm trying to say that people require a various degree of time to come back. So when you go through the next birth, you might go through the same process where you're born as a human being because you've done something worthwhile in the previous life. And you'll get engrossed in material activities for some time. and then something hits you in the head. Say, oh, wait a minute. I mean, is that all there is to it? And at that time, when you try to go back, then you don't have to go back to elementary school. You start where you started in the graduate school last time, and go from there on. Does that make clear? Okay. Any other questions? Good.
When do you sing it?
Uh-huh.
Only when you are in dire need, or on a daily basis?
Daily basis. Daily basis, but more pronouncedly at the time when there are dire challenges and even impending death. The reason for that, for example, remember we do the Mrityunjaya Homa in the temple for people undergoing surgery, or somebody is really sick. But again, they come back and do the additional puja afterwards. The surgery is done and everything is all settled down. Markandeya did the same thing when he was holding on to Shiva Linga at the time of his 16th birthday. So the point is, you do it all your life. For example, good question, I'm glad you asked that question, is you cannot start digging for water or a well when you are thirsty. You have to be prepared for it. So what I'm trying to say is, you have to be doing it every day as a part of routine. Then automatically you know what medicine to use extra during the time of crisis. This is routinely done. It's just a question of doing with greater intensity and force at that particular time. Good question. Yes?
So back to that question. If somebody commits suicide, and then they're reborn, they're going to go back and continue the same thing until they figure it out.
It's a good question to ask. You have to experience it to know it. Suicide is not a correct answer to the problems that can be dealt with. As a matter of fact, one of the sessions we frequently have come with, remember in the youth camps, one of the sessions with the senior children after the camp, not up to the age of 13, but from 14 to 18 before they go to college, we do talk greatly about suicide part of it. Because in this day and age, as you have recognized around, there are so many challenges thrown at us that we feel ourselves as ineffective, inadequate, incomplete, don't have any help, and our material things have created even greater problems. And not that my Indian family who grew up in India and here now in this audience doesn't realize that we as grown-ups have a tendency to put extra pressure on our children to do academically extremely well, which is also a stress factor on them. As a matter of fact, this statistically shows that there is a far greater percentage of suicides amongst the Asian Indian population in the college campuses than most other populations. So what I'm trying to say is, it is important to realize that's not the correct answer. That subject is out. But again, because you committed a violence, there's a certain amount of negativity that you have created on that life cycle. So that becomes a negative aspect. But again, you can overcome that in the next life and continue your education from there onwards. Does that answer your question to a certain extent or not? Okay. But I'm telling you, that's not a correct answer. Suicide, I'm trying to say, downplay is not important. At the same time, that is not a precluding to person coming back and learning. Okay? I've seen many people who became enlightened later on have committed suicide in the past. Okay. Yes? Past means past life, yeah.
Is there a full amount of time you want to repeat the mantra just once? 5 times, 10 times?
It depends on how many times you feel like. Where did I go? Okay. As many times as you can. The thing is, you know the story of greatest devotee in the world? Here goes the story. Narada was a tremendous devotee of Lord Vishnu. And I have done it as a little kid. I would always ask the teacher, who's your most favorite student? And I wanted the teacher to say, that's you. That's what he was doing to Vishnu. And I said, who's your greatest devotee? And he said, he's such a person who lives in Timbuktu. By the way, there's a city in the world, Timbuktu. Go there. Narada immediately on air, Narada went to Timbuktu and found out who that guy was and saw what his life was. He would get up early in the morning, get up, get ready, hurriedly go to the farm, work the whole day. His wife would bring something for him to eat and lunch, but continue working. In the evening, he'll come home late, take a shower, do his prayers for about 5 minutes and go to sleep. And when Narada came back to Vishnu and asked him, how do you call him the greatest devotee? There are no other better devotees than that. I mean, expecting to say like me. He said, let me tell you now, I got to attend a meeting in Chicago, so I'll tell you when I get back. So come and see me at that time. In the meanwhile, I want you to do something and then we'll discuss about it. Take this big pot of oil, it's filled to the brim. I don't want you to drop a single drop of oil out. I want you to go around the earth 3 times and come back by the time I get back from Chicago. Chicago is my part of the story. And when he got back, and he was so careful to make sure he didn't drop a single, because that was part of the condition that Vishnu had put in. And when he got back and asked him, well, that's a wonderful job. You didn't drop a single drop of oil from that pot. What great. I only one question of you, Narada. How many times did you stop and pray during those travels of going around the earth 3 times without dropping a drop of oil? I don't have any time. I didn't want to drop any oil. He said, no more questions. This guy worked the whole day to feed his family, but still took 5 minutes at night before going to sleep and praying. That's the difference between a true devotee and a person who wants to be called the devotee. So what I'm trying to say is, coming back to your original question, it is not the number of times you do it, but whenever you get a chance to do that. My friend Vidyatma Swami says that if you have free time, then watching the soap operas, listening to something which is worthless, just do some prayers. Keep your mind quiet and at peace. So I hope that answers your question. Are you interested in learning about a little bit of Om? It's about 11:35. So.
That's only one more question.
Yeah, exactly.
Is the mantra to remove the fear of death through self-realization, or is it about removing the threat of death physically?
Yes. What I'm trying to say is that once you know the meaning of this mantra, what is there to fear for? Death. You know what I mean? So when you understand the meaning of this mantra and come to live it, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? Because what happens when you die, Arun? Your body dies. You see what I mean? When your shirt that you're wearing, which looks good, when it gets torn or dirty, what do? You take it out and replace it with something else, right? You cry for that? You get excited if you have to wear the next good shirt. So what happens is that once you dvitiyat bhayam, if we are afraid of something different, we are afraid because we think something is different than you. But if you realize that everything is the same as you, for example, why do you love your children? Why do you love your family? Why do you feel secure with them? Because you don't see any difference between you and them. You understand what I mean? So you're not afraid of death anymore. So what I'm coming back to your original question, you can do that to understand, educate yourself, understand yourself, and Maha Mrityunjaya, that means make sure, Maha Mrityunjaya, that means make sure that I understand, get education to what Amrit is and pursue to learn. Okay?